Another example of, hey, Catherine Hardwicke is a good director, despite what Twilight tells you. But I don't think I need to tell you the story about this movie. The nativity story is, of course, about the birth of Jesus Christ, and it stars Keisha Cashel Hughes from Whale Rider I can't remember her name now. Mary, excuse me. I was going to shut it off and then try to look, but I should know this. Mary, who becomes pregnant with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and of course she goes on that I should know these names by this point. Joseph goes along with her, played by Oscar Isaac, and in this movie, they're of course being asked by the Archangel Gabriel to go and give birth to the Lord and Savior, and yeah, it was a movie that surprisingly came out after Thanksgiving. I feel like this is a film that probably would have been primed to come out before Thanksgiving, because it is a Christmas movie, and a movie about one of the most significant births, if not the most significant birth of our lifetime, and the movie itself actually is really good. I mean, it's a really impressive film. It does a very good job of telling the story in a unique way that we haven't seen done before. It's got a lot of great people in the cast, including Keisha Cashel Hughes and Oscar Isaac, Kieran Hines, Shohreh Aghdashloo, Sean Tobe from Iron Man is in here. It is a really investing film, and it does a very good job of telling the story that we've heard time and time again, done in a very unique way, in a way that's very different from what we're used to hearing from this particular story being told numerous times, and it does do things a lot differently than most stories do, and it's a really good film. It is a film that actually does a very good job of telling the story in a unique approach that hasn't really been done before, and it's not really one of those heavy... It's a movie, of course, about, the birth of Jesus Christ, but it's not pounding the message right in your face like a lot of Christian movies nowadays do. But even though there are some that do a good job of toning it down a little bit, even though they are faith-based films, they're not, it's like, this is one of those examples. This is one of the examples of the earliest ones doing that just right. And I also found it kind of amusing that Keisha Cashel Hughes, who was 16 when this was being made, actually got pregnant at the time of this movie getting made. So that made for some pretty interesting situations behind the scenes, to literally be pregnant while making this movie when you're 16 years old. I mean, this woman was nominated for Whale Rider just 3 years ago. She was one of the youngest Oscar-nominated actresses at the time, and lo and behold, here she is in this movie where she is supposed to be pretending to be giving the birth of Jesus, and she actually is pregnant overall. So that probably made the makeup people for this movie very happy, because it's just like, hey, we don't have to worry about giving you a prosthetic stomach to work with. You're already going to have it inside of you. But all jokes aside, though, and all the things behind the scenes aside, this is actually a really good movie, and one I would recommend checking out. I think it's on AMC this holiday season during the Christmas programming there. I think they're the ones that have it. Either of them are Freeform, but wherever you can find it, if it's on television, if it's on Blu-ray, I highly recommend checking it out. It actually is a really good film. Probably one of the better post-Thanksgiving movies you'll get at this point, especially considering what we've got coming up next on here, and that is, of course, Josh Duhamel in the horror film Turistas.
Welcome to paradise. I love you, Brazil! Yeah! In a country where anything goes.
Would you guys mind if I went topless?
Anything can happen.
They robbed us. We have no money. We have no way out of here.
It's not good for you in town.
Hello?
Who are these people? Vacation is over. Turistas.
I want to go home.
We all want to go home, lady. We all want to go home. We don't want to go out and see this movie. And apparently nobody did, because this thing massively bombed big time, and not shocking to see why. Its plot focuses on a group of... Stop me if you haven't heard this already, because this story is groundbreaking. It focuses on a group of international backpackers in Brazil who find themselves in the clutches of an underground organ harvesting ring. Yeah, essentially, dumb white people being dumb white people, and they get young teenager, not even young teenager, but like, they got to drink all the time. They're around this beautiful island. They've got these two sexy women with them. Josh Duhamel does. Olivia Wilde, actually, that's her sister, so would be really weird. And Beau Garrett, who would later be seen in Tron Legacy and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and they're also joined by another woman, Melissa George, and yeah, they get drunk. Josh Duhamel's got to hit on one of the girls at some point. Obviously not her sister, but then crazy shit happens. All their stuff gets taken away from them, and they're stuck in the middle of nowhere with nowhere to go. And did I forget to mention this is directed by the same guy that did Into the Blue? That should probably give you a warning sign right there. But most notably, this is the first film by Fox Atomic, which was sort of a short-lived version of the studio at 20th Century Fox, basically trying to do the Rogue Pictures thing. Like Rogue Pictures, of course, this was a subdivision that was created to support mostly comedies and genre films, and not very good ones either. I mean, a lot of the films, I'm looking at the list right here, they only had about 7 movies put out during this thing, and the 7 movies were this movie, Turistas, The Hills Have Eyes 2, 28 Weeks Later, The Comebacks, The Rocker, Miss March, 12 Rounds. Some of those movies aren't bad. 28 Weeks Later is okay. Comebacks, I thought was a lot better than people made it out to be. The Rocker's probably the best of that bunch there. Miss March, there was even 3 other ones that were supposed to come out, but then the studio folded. I Love You, Beth Cooper, Post Grad, and Jennifer's Body. If we're going to include those movies, then Jennifer's Body is easily the best of the bunch, but it was pretty clear that none of these movies were going to be successful. And that's not even the last of those movies, because there was a Revenge of the Nerds remake that was going to be in the works that was actually filming in 2006, and then an executive of the studio decided to stop production on the film, and this mostly because the university that they went to, they refused to let the campus use the production of it, and they actually had to look at the dailies and made the decision to stop putting the film together after 2 weeks of shooting. Like, that's how you know the studio was primed for disaster right from the very beginning. And a movie like this does not do anything to wow people into your new studio. It just makes people go, wow, you're really trying to rip off Rogue Pictures of all companies. And yeah, this is a film that really does not work at all, mostly because it's a film we've seen done before so many times. We've seen so many movies like this film. I mean, every one of them has not been good. Most of them have not been very good. And it's because they follow the same formula over and over and over again. It's the same formula, it's the same setup, it's the same big shocking horror grotesque thing that we got to do, because Saw and Hostel are the big movies that we got to copy now, and it just doesn't work when you do the same thing over and over and over again. And this isn't even the last of the movies to do that. We still have a long way to go before we finally get to the trend of that ending, and it's still a long way to go from there. But not much more to really say about this movie, man. This is not a very good film at all. Turistas. What can you expect from that? Same thing you would expect from a movie like Van Wilder 2, The Rise of Taj. Now, if Ryan Reynolds was involved, maybe you'd have something, but not so much. Let's go ahead and take a look.
In 2002, Van Wilder taught us to be all we could be and do everyone we could do. This time, his star student
Yes, I'll have the chicken, please.
is heading to England.
Excuse me. Is that Madame Mandira's Bombay hot sauce?
No way, you know it?
I have this thing for spices.
You have a thing? Oh, that's hot. That's actually... Hi, you look funny. I'm Taj, your new resident advisor. The coolest kids on campus are living here. Who's moving in? The new you, the new all of you. Stand up straight. A man always looks more confident when he's erect.
Now, at Camford University,
I would like to announce the formation of a new fraternal house.
Just because you're all making a spectacle of yourselves doesn't mean you're not still invisible to the rest of us.
he's discovering the rivalries are bigger.
It's a royal jackass.
Let's settle this like my ancestors did.
You want to exploit me economically?
But the best still come out on top.
I'm dead. So I assume those are real.
You alright?
This December, higher education is getting wilder than ever.
Meow, meow, a bad doggy.
Oh, my parents!
National Lampoon's Van Wilder, The Rise of Taj.
My son is a hound doggy, eh?
My God, they put in all Speaking of movies that have been done over and over again, here's a movie that puts all the tropes of these raunchy comedies in here. You know, you gotta have your sex appeal, you gotta have your raunchy jokes and all that, and just like stuff that we've seen done it so many times before. But did I also forget to mention this was directed by the same guy that did Boat Trip? That should have been my first warning when I went to go see this movie in the theater. Yes, I went to go see this movie in the theater when I was 17. What do you expect me to do? I mean, I liked the first one. I thought maybe it's got a chance to be good, not realizing that no, it does not. Van Wilder's not even in the movie. Why the hell is it called Van Wilder? Like, why isn't it just called The Rise of Taj? I mean, it's literally the character from the last movie Kal Penn plays. But having graduated in the U.S. as a Van Wilder disciple, now self-confident Taj Mahal, get it, played by Kal Penn, arrives at dawn, teaching assistant history at England's super prestigious Camford. He falls victim to the haughty, aristocratic leading fraternity president's Pip's usual prank for commoners, landing in the derelict barn with other social outcasts. But Taj decides to band the rejects into a new fraternity, Cocks and Bulls, which, under his leadership, challenges Pip in the annual all-around excellence championship. Like, this is one of the stupidest plots I have ever read in my entire life. This movie is so terrible. And I was stupid enough to buy into this back in the day, but I don't even need to rewatch the movie again just to see if it held up if it got better over time. Obviously, it did not. And look, Kal Penn can be a really good actor and a very smart person too at times. I mean, this guy worked at the Obama White House, for God's sakes. You also have Lauren Cohen, who would later go on to star in The Walking Dead. I mean, there's a lot of ideas here that could be fun overall, but it just falls into the same predictable tropes we've seen in so many of these college raunchy comedies. Yeah, you can watch these. You can watch a woman take her clothes off in this many times in here, but we have the internet. This is 2006, and we have the internet. I can go on to websites like Celebrity Movie Archive and just find all the clips for clips that have nudity or sexy lingerie right now. I'm not saying that you should do it, but if you'd rather do that than watch this movie, there you go. There, I just gave you everything you need to really experience any good stuff in this movie if you really want to go that route. Plus, the names in this movie are so stupid. Of course, the English guy's got to be named Pip. Of course, they got to call the new fraternity the Cock and Bulls because get it? We're an R-rated comedy. Like, here's the thing. It seems more and more that Animal House was more of a lightning in a bottle moment than an actual success, because besides the 80s where we had many successful college comedies like Back to School and also Caddyshack's not really a college comedy, Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's, those movies were successful around that time and they actually were fun films. Ever since then, they have tried so hard to create the next Animal House, and especially with National Lampoon, and they have nearly failed every single time. Their most successful comedy they had outside of the Animal House movies was the Vacation movies. Excuse me, I'm getting so worked up here. I'm burping up my thoughts on this, but the Vacation movies have been the most successful thing to come out of National Lampoon since then. This is probably the second closest thing with the first Van Wilder movie. And the first Van Wilder movie was fun. It actually did give you a little bit of a lesson in life. Like, hey, sometimes it actually did help me. It's truth be told, the original Van Wilder actually did make me want to learn better in school because maybe someday I'll go to a college like this. I was like Homer in the Homer Goes to College episode because I got all my knowledge on college by watching these corny ridiculous over the top college movies. But I thought that was the thing back then. But in this movie, it just doesn't work because the humor is not funny at all. There is not one good laugh in this movie. And like I said, if you're just there for the sex appeal, just go online and just look at the stuff. It's literally 20 seconds worth of your time, and it's worth not seeing a garbage movie like this. Because this is a garbage movie. This is a lousy film that's not funny in any way, shape, or form. And like I said, it's directed by the guy from Boat Trip. We all should have gotten that warning sign from the get-go. Or at least I should have gotten that warning sign right from the get-go, but stupid me went to go see it anyway. But most people did not. And there was another Van Wilder movie that came out on DVD a couple years later, which is So-so. Not that great, not that bad either. Just definitely felt like a film. It just definitely was your typical DVD sequel that wasn't really putting a lot of effort into it. It was just basically a movie made to cash it on the title of the first movie. And like this film, it's not very good. So yeah, if you want a good Van Wilder movie, just watch the first one. I mean, that's really the best one you can watch, honestly. Avoid The Rise of Taj, though. No, we seriously need to call it Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, because if we simply just call it Apocalypto, then nobody's going to go see this movie, clearly. But, in the film, set in Yucatan around the year 1517, this portrays the hero's journey of a young man named Jagger Paw, a late Mesoamerican hunter, and his fellow tribesmen, who are captured by an invading force. After a raid on their village, they are brought on a perilous journey to a Maya city for human sacrifice at a time when the Mayan civilization is in decline. You can definitely see a lot of positives with the film, but also a lot of questionable things and things that are not that great in general. Like, yeah, one of the biggest complaints of the film is that the portrayal of Maya civilization, as well as a lot of the historical inaccuracies of the movie, are very much out in the open. But then again, there are a lot of historical movies out there with a lot of historical inaccuracies, but we buy them, okay? As long as the story itself is good, we can usually buy into it. And not even the story, but as long as there are a lot of the things that we can let go, we can usually let it slide. And there are things to like about the movie. Mel Gibson does a very good job of handling the direction of this film. It's very unique and very different for his part here. There's a lot of really good shots in this movie. That trailer alone, like that shot of the dude in the tree, and while these guys are just underneath it, each just raiding the place. Like, that's a really cool shot, and you gotta give a lot of credit to the cinematographer of the movie, Dean Semler, for that. And, the cast overall is good. They're doing their jobs very well here. Rudy Youngblood leads this cast as a whole, and he's alright in the movie. Everybody here does their job okay. Is it a great movie? I can't really say that for certain, but it is a commendably put together film. I'll say that. I mean, it's not a bad movie by any means necessary, but it's not one of those great awards contenders either. It's just a film that just shows the range that Mel Gibson has as a director as a whole, and you see a lot of what made The Passion of the Christ so unique in its own way, and it's definitely in this movie here, maybe not to the extremes of The Passion of the Christ overall, but it's a film that I would say that if you want to see a visually impressive looking film that works because of some of the good tension-filled moments and some good direction by Mel Gibson and some great cinematography as a whole, watch it for that. If you're going in there expecting one of the year's best movies, I would say lower your expectations a lot, because as much as I think the movie is fine, it definitely feels like a film that should have been a lot better, but could have also been a whole lot worse too. A very mixed opinion on Apocalypto, to say the least. So, with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is the star-studded romantic comedy, Cameron Diaz, Kate Winslet, Jude Law, and Jack Black, starring in Nancy Meyers, The Holiday.
As well be honest with each other. Just tell me, did you sleep with her?
Okay, I slept with her. You happy?
Did you say, am I happy?
You gotta be.
Oh God, here he comes.
Oh, Jasper, what's the story with you two anyway? I'm head over heels, you know.
Everybody, may I introduce the newly engaged Jasper Blue?
I hate my horrible life.
Iris and Amanda are in exactly the same place.
Where do I want to go? By myself? Depressed at Christmas.
Just 6,000 miles apart.
Home exchange.
We switch houses, cars, everything. Bingo. I need you to answer this.
Are there any men in your town?
Perfect.
See, I bet you didn't realize that this was actually a lesbian romantic comedy in disguise, and no, of course it's not. For some, that would have made this movie a lot more interesting. Or, you know what, the movie itself, I'll get to that in just a second here, but, you can tell what the plot of the movie is. Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz stars these two lovelorn women from opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean who, you know, after they get heartbreak from their boyfriends, they decide to go on this home exchange to escape heartbreak during the holiday season, and they end up falling in love with these two other men in their lives, Jude Law when Cameron Diaz visits England, and Jack Black when Kate Winslet visits America. And, yeah, it's a very formulaic plot. You can kind of tell exactly where it's going to go. You can kind of tell where the story is going to go overall. But, you know, with most romantic comedies, that's what you kind of have to expect with a movie like this. Like, the one thing that can carry the weight of the movie is the cast overall. And this is a really charming cast in this movie. Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, Jude Law. The director is Nancy Meyers, who usually cannot do any wrong whatsoever. And this is another movie where she really does make it work as a whole. It's a really fun little romantic comedy that works very well. And it shows what Jack Black can do as an actor as a whole. You know, this is a very different... It is Jack Black like we usually see him, but he's more restrained in this performance. And I think that works very well to his advances at, you know, trying to woo Kate Winslet. And you can buy into the chemistry between Jude Law and Cameron Diaz, as well as Kate Winslet and Jack Black as a whole. And the movie overall works very well. It works because there is a lot of good talent in the cast. There's a lot of very good, funny moments in the film. There's a lot of good fun factors about the film as a whole that just make it such an enjoyable film to watch, even especially during the holiday season. And it's just a really entertaining film. It's a good comfort food movie. It's probably the best way to describe this movie. It's a good comfort food film. You can watch it. You go into it not really expecting it to like blow you away or something, but you just want to watch it and just take your mind off some bad things that happen in your life, and just you watch it and you feel so much better afterwards. I mean, I've watched this movie so many times on bad days, and it just really uplifted me more. Like, it really got me back on track and saying, hey, don't give up on the world just yet. You know, like what Linus said at the end of A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Did you notice something, Charlie Brown? The world didn't come to an end. Like, when I feel that way when I watch this movie. It's a very enjoyable film. It's a very good film overall. Good funny moments, a really strong cast to make it work, and a great director in Nancy Meyers. It's a really good film. I really enjoy it a lot. Definitely check it out for holiday. With that said, let's move on to the next film we have here. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly, and Djimon Hounsou starring Edward Zwick's Blood Diamond.
Africa, it's all about diamonds. You owe me money. I'll take a stone as payment. My son!
The only reason you're still alive is because you haven't told anyone where it is. The right stone can buy anything. Safety, even freedom. It's a given people.
Kill them all! Leonardo DiCaprio, Blood Diamond.
So the story of the movie is that this is set during the Sierra Leone Civil War of 91 to 2002, in between 1991 and 2002, where it depicts a country torn apart by the struggle between government loyalists and insurgent forces. It also portrays many of the atrocities of the war, including the rebels' amputation of civilians' hands to discourage them from voting in upcoming elections. You got Leonardo DiCaprio in here as this kind of diamond smuggler, and Jennifer Connelly's also in here playing, who does she play in this movie? It's been a long time since I've seen this movie. I can't remember exactly who she plays in this. She plays as American journalist in the movie. I thought she was a newspaper editor, but she's a journalist, newspaper editor, kind of the same thing pretty much. But Djimon Hounsou is the guy that gets caught up in the middle of this whole thing, and the movie really works. I mean, Edward Zwick very rarely misses as a filmmaker. Neither does really. The talent in this movie really hardly ever misses. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly, Djimon Hounsou has proven time and time again how good of an actor he really is. And I think this was the first time he was ever nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. I could have sworn he was nominated for Amistad, but when I checked it before, it didn't have his name on there. I mean, I might need to do my research again. Hold on. Was nominated for a Golden Globe for Amistad, but not the Oscar. Although he was nominated for an Oscar for In America back in 2003. So yeah, regardless, it's the second time being nominated for an Oscar. And this movie, I think, really shows what this guy can do as an actor as a whole, and he does not get the proper attention that I think he deserves as a whole. Like, he's proven time and time again how good of an actor he can really be. And this is definitely his magnum opus in terms of one of his best acting jobs overall. Just a really good film overall, really entertaining film, really engaging political thriller. Can't recommend it enough. Definitely one you should definitely check out, Blood Diamond. With all that said, let's move on to the last one we have here. Another Warner Brothers release. This time it's Paul Fahey directing the Christmas comedy Unaccompanied Minors.
Due to near blizzard conditions, all flights have been canceled. On behalf of Hoover International Airport, happy holidays.
I don't want to see Santa!
Get on Santa's lap!
I don't want to!
I got unaccompanied minors!
Is this some kind of prison?
Could be worse.
My security team can handle anything that comes up.
Who's going to take care of them?
You are, Van Bork. Give me five. I'll be in my office watching your every move on camera. Merry Christmas.
This is so not the Christmas I had in mind.
I'm getting us out of here. So who's with me?
Probably a little word of advice. If you're releasing a Christmas movie after Thanksgiving, 9 times out of 10, it's not a good movie per se. We've had a couple of exceptions. I mean, last week we looked at The Nativity Story, which is a really good film. But here's an example of one of the many reasons why most Christmas movies do not do well after December. And I forgot, The Muppet Christmas Carol also came out after Thanksgiving. So, 2 movies in particular that are perfect examples of how to do it the right way with Muppet Christmas Carol and Nativity Story. This one, not so much. Spencer and his little sister Catherine are flying to Pennsylvania to be with their dad for Christmas. During a layover, a blizzard moves in and cancels all flights out of Hoover International Airport. They must stay in the basement room with other unaccompanied minors, Spencer and 4 others, a chubby boy, a non-stop talker, a surly girl, and a rich kid go AWOL and get in trouble with Mr. Porter, the Christmas-hating airport supervisor, played by Louis Black, because why not typecast Louis Black in a movie like this? I guess they were really trying to push him this year. This is like the 3rd film I've seen him in 2006. They spend the night evading and enduring his punishments, discovering all sorts of things in back rooms, making sure Catherine gets his visit from her visit with Santa, and finding a new kind of family among themselves. And yeah, this is a pretty dumb movie as a whole. This is really not a good film. This is about as generic of a kids movie as you can get, and one that's not even a good kids movie. One that's clearly written by people who have no idea what the kids of 2006 really think is entertainment, and just write whatever they feel like, whatever they think the kids of 2006 would think is funny. And yeah, you can see it throughout that trailer. I mean, the kid burping and everybody just clapping their hands, like. That's the style of comedy we got here in this movie. And this has also got a lot of names to it, too, you know. Not just Louis Black, but you see Wilmer Valderrama, Kelso from that... No, not Fez from That 70s Show. Tyler James Williams from Everybody Hates Chris. Brett Kelly from Bad Santa. I mean, a lot of notable names in this movie, but they're not really given a whole lot to do here in particular. And the film just isn't funny at all. It's a boring movie, man. Like, there is just nothing of value in this film whatsoever. This isn't like Deck the Halls, where everything about it is just so awful. There is a possibility for a good movie here. There's a lot of ideas you could do here that could work. And as we've seen later on down the road, Paul Fahey will find his true calling in filmmaking and make a lot of really good films. But this is definitely one of those movies that feels like he was kind of lost in the shuffle, didn't know how to make a proper film in general that could work as a whole, and the end result speaks for itself. It's a film that is really lazy, it's not funny or clever, and it just feels more like a bore than a watch that people should go out and see around the holidays. It just feels like a film that was clearly made to just get it out there, because they know it's going to make quick money, because it's going to be playing on TV for the next 20 years. And sure enough, it's playing on TV this year. I think on either Freeform or AMC. It's one of the 2 years. It's usually it's 1 year or the other. 1 year it'll be AMC. The next year it'll be Freeform. Like, it'll be on one of those years. But that's the movie. That's what I feel like the movie's only reason for existence is because they know it's going to be playing every year, and these people probably have never seen this movie since then, because there's not really nothing in here that makes this movie memorable by any means necessary. Like, bad movie overall. What more can you say? Unaccompanied minors. But hey, it's better than Deck the Halls, so there's that, I guess.
Gardner.
I need the rest.
That's all the money that I had. Just couldn't seem to catch a break. So for his son, he took a chance.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
There was no salary, but there was a way to another place. Anyone else would give up.
Go to that hospital! You gotta go to work!
But he isn't just anyone.
First in your class?
Yes, sir.
How many in the class?
12. It's a small town.
Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness, rated PG-13, opens everywhere Friday.
So this is based on a true story about a man named Chris Gardner, who's played by Smith in this movie, and he has invested heavily in a device known as a bone density scanner. He feels like he has it made selling these devices. However, they don't sell well, as they are marginally better than X-ray at a much higher price. And as Gardner works to make ends meet, his wife leaves him, he loses his apartment, and he's forced to live on the streets with his son, played by Smith's real-life son, Jaden Smith. He continues to sell bone density scanners while concurrently taking on an unpaid internship as a stockbroker, with very slim chances for advancement to a paid position. Before he can receive pay, he needs to outshine the competition through 6 months of training and to sell his devices to stay afloat. And yeah, this is usually the type of movie I like to trash because it's mostly made to get Oscar nominations. And yes, Will Smith did get an Oscar nomination for this, but he's the best thing about the movie. He does show that he continues to prove that he has a lot of dramatic range as an actor. He's not just the big action star and the big blockbuster star that we've come to know him for. Like, the guy has proven time and time again how good of an actor he can really be. Ali was great. He was great as Muhammad Ali. He was great as Serena and Venus's father in King Richard, even though that controversy that happened on Oscar night should not have done anything to stop him from winning the Oscar that year. He deserved to win the Oscar that year. It's a really good performance. It's not Oscar-worthy. At least to me it isn't. It's a movie where it's trying so hard to just clamor for an Oscar, but he's good in the movie. He's very good in the film. His son is very good in the movie. There was that little brief flash of promise where you thought that, hey, this kid's got a lot of chops, and he's got a future ahead of him, because he would later do The Karate Kid, and then after that, they would star in After Earth, and that's when everything came crumbling down for young Jaden Smith in terms of his film career as a whole. But yeah, as far as the film itself goes, it's pretty generic. It's a pretty lackluster film overall, but the performances, I think, really do help carry the film overall. I think there is a lot there to really appreciate about the film in terms of the acting as a whole. Tandy Newton's also in the movie. She's very good. If the story had been a little bit better, this probably would have been one of the best films of the year. But as it is, it's a good movie. It's not one of the better... It's not a great film, but it definitely works because of how good the performances are. And I think if you're going to see it for those performances. Other than that, I mean, you'll still get something out of it, but just don't expect it to be like one of the year's best movies, unfortunately. So with all that said, let's move on to our next movie. Let's get some crap now, and this definitely is a really crappy movie, and that is Aragon.
Time of dragons. Some dragon riders will come again. You're the next rider. Gathering my army leaves no one alive. One false move and everything is lost. Aragon. This film is not yet rated. December 15th.
One of the many attempts to try to create the next Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and just failing miserably. And, you know, Fox said, hey, if Disney can do it with Narnia, we could do it too. And unfortunately for them, Disney had a better plan on bringing Narnia to the big screen and making it the next big fantasy franchise. Fox, not so much. The kingdom of Alagazia is ruled by the evil king Galbaltorix. It's not a good sign if I can't pronounce any of these names correctly. A former dragon rider that betrays his mates and his people in his quest for power. While the orphan farm boy Aragon finds a blue stone sent by Princess Arya, he soon realizes that it's a dragon egg. When the dragon Saphira is born, Aragon meets with his mentor Brom, played by Jeremy Irons, and Jeremy, just stay away from these franchises, dude. Dungeons and Dragons was bad enough for you, and then you gotta do this. And becomes the dragon rider foreseen in an ancient prophecy that would set his people free from the tyrant Galbaltarix. Aragon meets the rebels Varden, and together they fight against the evil sorcerer Duza and the Arbria Galbatrix in a journey for freedom. Like I said before, if I can't even pronounce the names correctly, we are in some deep, deep trouble. Lord of the Rings had some complex names too, but at least I can pronounce names like Aragon, Arathor, son of Arathor, Eowyn. Like, I can at least pronounce those names. This is just pushing it way too far, and yeah, the movie is not good. It's just another movie that's trying to be Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, except Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings had talented people behind the scenes in terms of the acting and the casting. They've got the casting in here, but unfortunately, when you hire a visual effects director making his feature film debut on this, that's not a good sign going forward. Chris Columbus and Peter Jackson at least did stuff before they took on Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Andrew Adamson did the Shrek movies before he did the Chronicles of Narnia. Getting Stephen Fangmeyer to do this after he had never directed a movie before this, and I don't think he's ever done anything since as a director. He's gone back to mostly visual effects work. Look, that should be a red flag right from the get-go. And yeah, it's a really bad movie on all different counts. It's a boring movie. It's a dreary film. It's not engaging whatsoever. It's not entertaining. The visual effects are terrible. The cast is just wasted on this movie. You got Rachel Weisz playing the dragon, and that could be really, really cool. But unfortunately, they don't really give her much to do in this movie. Like, she's just doing her bringing this voice to this dragon, and then that's it. It's just like what's the point of this? Like, why am I supposed to get invested in this in any way, shape, or form? And it just isn't worth it in the end. Like, you get so bored by this movie, and it just goes on forever and ever and ever. And it's just like, this right here is a prime example of how not to make a fantasy franchise. Like, you need to get people invested in something that they want to get behind. Like, I don't know how big the fan base for Aragon was at the time, but I don't think it was even that big to begin with. And the book had only come out about 4 years ago, and it didn't have that same kind of that boom that Harry Potter did, or even something like Lord of the Rings that had been around for decades. Like, Aragon just came out 4 years before the movie came out, and people already didn't even know probably what it even was or why it even existed to begin with. Like, why was it popular to begin with? And quite frankly, I don't know anybody who ever read the Aragon books and thought, oh, this could be something on the levels of Harry Potter, Narnia, or Lord of the Rings. But, yeah, bottom line, it's not a good movie. I mean, there's brief flashes of promise here and there, but you've got to sit through a lot of garbage to really get to the good stuff. And unfortunately, there's no purpose to make this movie or just watch it in general. But, hey, I'm not the head of a major studio. I'm not Tom Rothman, who, of course, was the head of 20th Century Fox at the time. So what do I know? So, bottom line, this movie sucks. So, let's turn the tide a little bit here. Let's get to a good family adventure film that came out this weekend, which isn't really much of an adventure, except for the CG animals overall. The live-action adaptation of Charlotte's Web.
Each of us is placed on this earth for one special purpose.
I'm sorry, Fern. The pig has to go.
No, it's not fair. You can't help being born small.
What if yours was to save another?
Make lots of new friends here. Just be yourself.
Salutations, Lorber.
Who said that?
Spider!
Julia Roberts.
My name is Charlotte.
Great name.
Dakota Fanning. Steve Buscemi.
The rat rules.
John Cleese. Oprah Winfrey.
They don't call me Mother Goose for nothing.
Cedric the Entertainer.
Yes, thank you.
Kathy Bates.
Bullseye.
Reba McEntire. Robert Redford.
What the heck is he doing now? I'm next.
I'm next. I'm next. I'm next too.
Thomas Hayden Church.
All right.
Andre Benjamin.
Let's go get it.
This Christmas, help is coming from above. Charlotte's Web.
Oh, yeah.
Rated G.
Charlotte's Web is, of course, based off the classic E.B. White book of the same name, which was previously adapted into a 1973 Hanna-Barbera animated film released by Paramount, which is a classic movie overall. I grew up with it when I was little. I used to have the tape all the time. Used to watch it on Cartoon Network and Disney Channel when it was on. So, yeah, I do have kind of a soft spot for this story in general. And so, doing it in a live-action format, you got the director of 13 going on 30 and an all-star cast, as you see in that trailer there. This is the classic story of loyalty, trust, and sacrifice coming to life in this live-action adaptation. We have Fern, played by Dakota Fanning, who is one of 2 living beings who sees that Wilbur is a special animal as she raises him, the runt of the litter, into a terrific and radiant pig. As Wilbur moves into a new bar, he begins a second profound friendship with the most unlikely of creatures, a spider named Charlotte, voiced by Julia Roberts, in one of her few voice acting roles she ever did. And their bond inspires the animals around them to come together as a family. When the word gets out that Wilbur's days are numbered, it seems that only a miracle will save his life. A determined Charlotte, who sees miracles in the ordinary, spins words into her web in an effort to convince the father that Wilbur is some pig and worth saving. Well, technically he's a farmer, but he's also the father of Dakota Fanning's character. And yeah, the movie is very much like the original animated film, but it really isn't a bad thing. When we always get these animated movies, and then they remake them into live-action movies, 9 times out of 10, they're never any as good as the original animated movies. I mean, the Disney movies. I've defended the Disney live-action remakes as of late, but I would never ever say that any of them were better than the original film, or, you know, on that same level as the original film. I think the only one that's ever come close to being on the level of the original animated films, 2 films. Cinderella, actually 3. Cinderella, Pete's Dragon, the 2016 Pete's Dragon, and Jurassic Park. I cannot think straight right now. And The Jungle Book is what I'm trying to say. The Jon Favreau directed Jungle Book movie. Everything else, I don't hate them like everybody else does, but I get why everybody gets so mad at them for doing it. And yeah, they're mostly just watered down versions of films that have done so much better and have more of a lasting impact to them. But not in this case here. I really love this movie, maybe even more than the original film. The animated film does, like I said, have a nostalgic feel inside of me because I see it I used to watch on Cartoon Network and Disney Channel all the time. But this really, I think, is the definitive version of the story. I mean, it just works on all these levels to bring the established reality from the book to life on the big screen. I think they did a very good job of handling that. A really good all-star voice cast in here really pushed this film into another level for me. Like, yeah, you got Julia Roberts, you got Steve Buscemi as Templeton the Rat, John Cleese, Cedric the Entertainer, Oprah Winfrey, Kathy Bates, Reba McEntire, Robert Redford, Thomas Hayden Church, Sam Shepard, Andre Benjamin, all these talents in this movie, and they all fit their roles very well. The live-action cast is really good, too. I like Dakota Fanning as Fern. I like Bruce Greenwood in here. I thought Beau Bridges has a really good role playing this doctor who Fern's mother goes to see when the crux of the story takes shape. I think he has a very good character put into that film, in that I don't really remember from the original story, but then again, I haven't seen the original film in a while, but I thought what Beau Bridges brought to the table was very good, like a really good, you know, word of, like someone that the mother of Fern can talk to about the situation and how she feels about this, and he can give her a good answer to. This is a really good movie. It's a great live-action adaptation of the E.B. White book. Probably one of the most overlooked kids' movies of recent memory, in my opinion. It's a movie that I do recommend people check out who have yet to see it. It's definitely one that I think works very well. If you love the original book, if you love the animated movie, you're going to find a lot to admire about this movie on so many levels. It's a great film. Can't recommend it enough. Charlotte's Web. Speaking of great films that I can't recommend enough, on to the next movie, and that is the star-studded Dreamgirls.
Claim is overwhelming. The sensation is just beginning.
Presenting the dreams.
Oh,
I promised you I was gonna make you start running.
swear.
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
And now, it's the winner of 5 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Song, and the Best Picture of the Year. Dreamgirls, rated PG-13, everywhere Christmas Day.
I mean, when you have the people that made Chicago, the person that made Chicago, the script for it, Bill Condon making his directing the film. I was going to say directorial debut, but that's not it. But, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that, even though Bill Condon would later go on to make some not-so-great movies overall. But DreamWorks is a film that is based off, of course, of the 1981 Broadway musical, following the history and evolution of American R&B music during the 1960s and 70s through the eyes of a Detroit girl group known as The Dreams, played by Beyonce Knowles, Jennifer Hudson, who was then coming off of American Idol, and Annika Noni Rose, who would later go on to play Tiana in The Princess and the Frog, and their manipulative record executive, played by Jamie Foxx. Also, Eddie Murphy has a role in here as well, and a lot of good things about the movie, man. This is an incredible film. All the acting, I think, is amazing in here. You know, Beyonce Knowles, you know, of course, Jennifer Hudson is the one that everyone remembers the most from this movie. She won an Oscar for this, and it's hard not to see why she's so damn good in the film. Of course, Annika Noni Rose, of course, will later go on to have a nice career as a bigger role later on as Tiana in the Princess and the Frog movies. I really liked her in that movie. I really like her as an actress as a whole. I thought she was very underrated compared to everybody else in the film. Danny Glover's in here too. He's really good. Jamie Foxx will never put in a bad performance. Eddie Murphy, I thought was good. Now, that's probably one of the biggest known controversies about this movie, is that Eddie Murphy was seen as a shoo-in for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, and then he made Norbit, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, he lost to Alan Arkin in Little Miss Sunshine, a role that I thought Alan Arkin should have won for. I thought he was great in there. It would have been cool if Eddie Murphy had won Best Supporting Actor, just to have an SNL actor finally, after all these years, winning an Oscar. And of course, that wouldn't happen for another 18 years until Robert Downey Jr. just did it this year with Oppenheimer. And I don't know why they were so biased against SNL people in general. I think it was just such a weird thing overall. And yeah, like, it was so weird that Robert Downey Jr. just this year was the one who finally broke through and became that first guy from SNL to win an Oscar for an acting award. Eddie Murphy, I feel like could have won here, but the thing with Eddie Murphy in here is that, like most people had already said back then, Eddie Murphy's good, but it's Eddie Murphy playing Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy does play a character that's very much straight out of Saturday Night Live, and he isn't doing anything that's really outside of what we're expecting from Eddie Murphy. I think the movie that he made later on, My Name is Dolomite, is a perfect example of showing Eddie Murphy, showing his range as an actor as a whole and what he can really do. And that, I think, is one of his best performances that not a lot of people really talk about, but it's a great, great movie that should have been nominated for an Oscar. Unfortunately, it wasn't, which it's a shame, but I mean, everybody in here is great. The music is fantastic. The writing is top-notch. The direction is fantastic. I mean, like I said, an incredible cast in here. A lot of good talent overall. What more do I even need to say about this film that hasn't already been said? Dreamgirls is great. It's a freaking masterpiece of a movie. One of the year's best films. I really love it. I can't recommend it enough. So with that said, let's move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is George Clooney, Cate Blanchett, and Tobey Maguire in The Good German.
Berlin, 1945. The war is over. A military journalist sent to cover the peace is about to become part of the story.
And roll the credits. Also, I love that trailer just for the fact that it opens up with them messing with the trailer card. I mean, more movies need to go in and just work with that. Like, just have fun with the trailer card. Like, mess around with it. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't mess with the trailer card. I mean, we've seen trailers that do that. Smurfs: The Lost Village did it. Hellboy 2019 did it. Not great movies overall, but then again, that should probably tell you something about maybe that is as good as the trailers are for doing that. Maybe it's because they're trying to sell whatever the bad movie is they're trying to sell. This one's not bad. It's another example of a style over substance movie. You have a movie set in Berlin following the Allied victory over the Nazis, and it begins as a murder mystery, but weaves in elements involving the American post-war employment of Nazi rocket scientists in Operation Paperclip. It was shot in black and white and designed to imitate the appearance of film noir from the 1940s, even though it had a lot of stuff that would have been prohibited by the then production code, including sex scenes and swearing. Its poster is a straight-up homage to Casablanca, which is another Warner Brothers film, as is the closing scene of the airport. You could just tell this movie was trying so hard to be like those film noirs of back in the day, and they focused more of their time on the visual look of the film than the actual story. As I said before, it's a style of a substance movie, and it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who very rarely misses, but when he does, it definitely is a miss, and this is definitely one of his biggest misses overall, and it's a shame because there was a lot here to admire. You know, George Clooney will usually not give a bad performance. Kate Blanchett is usually very good. Tobey Maguire shows that he's got the acting chops as a whole. There's so many things about this movie that I think really could work overall, and there's a lot that could be admired about the film, but yeah, on a visual level, it's that and more. Story level, it's a mess. It's a mess of a film. It's a very sloppy film. It was one of the biggest flops of the year, and it's kind of hard not to see why. This is a film that is really a beautiful looking film that just needed a much better story and much better characters overall to really get the full investment of the storyline here, and it's just not there, man. And I was really let down by it. I was really looking forward to it just from that trailer alone and what they were able to do with that, get me to be convinced that the movie should be seen by me, and this is the end result I get from it. A lackluster film that should have been so much better than it actually is, but unfortunately it's not. So yeah, it's a hard skip on The Good German.
I'm Larry Daly. I've got a job interview with Cecil Fredericks.
Let me point you in the right direction.
Great.
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes,
He was our 4th president, right?
26.
26.
This is the kid who wants to be the new night guard.
He looks like a weirdie.
I'll give you a little tour. This is the diorama room.
I remember these little guys.
On the left there is your Attila the Hun. And this is the Hall of African Medals.
Guy's cute.
He's quite a little ball of fun, aren't you, Dexter? It can get a little spooky around here at night, so you might want to put a few lights on. And the most important thing of all to remember, don't let anything in or out.
Out?
Fire up the Iron Horse, boys.
Oh! For crying out loud!
Come to work with me tonight. You won't be disappointed.
This is so not worth $11.50 an hour.
So many things work to this movie's advantage. The fact that it was coming out on Christmas weekend, you know, the movie is set around winter time. There's literally, the climax is literally taking place inside of a wintry New York City. In a wintry New York City, I should say, not inside a wintry New York City. This was just pitch perfect timing for this movie in general. And this movie doesn't get the proper respect it deserves. I mean, it's not a great film by any means necessary, but it's a perfect movie to come out around the holiday season. If you want to go see a good, big family adventure film, this one is definitely the one to see. And this is based off of a book, by the way. This is based on, I didn't know this was actually based off of a 1993 children's book by a Croatian author, Milan Trenk. Which then again, that makes sense because they do make references to him in this movie, and as well as the other movies as well. But in the film, Ben Stiller plays a divorced father who applies for a job as a night watchman at New York City's American Museum of Natural History, and subsequently discovers that the exhibits come to life at night, animated by a magical Egyptian artifact, protected by Kamen Ra, played by, no, not Kamen Ra, that's later on in the series, but he's played by, he's played by Rami Malek. I can't remember who. The Mummy of Akhman Ra. Akhman Ra is the one I'm thinking of here. Like, I'm thinking of the sequel, which has Hank Azaria as Kamen Ra, and then they did an animated sequel. But Rami Malek, pre-Mr. Robot, pre-Oscar win for Bohemian Rhapsody, which still don't think he should have won. He deserved to win for his performance in that, but I always remember when I think of Rami Malek and Bohemian Rhapsody, when they went to the Oscars and they showed the clip from the movie. They didn't show any of his acting. They showed him singing, but not singing like lip syncing to Freddie Mercury's actual song. Like, I always remember that the movie they were so embarrassed, they were so afraid that, why not show an actual clip of Rami Malek acting instead of just showing him lip syncing? I mean, that just makes no sense whatsoever. But we'll get to that movie eventually down the road. But we're going to talk about Night at the Museum, and like I said before, it's a really good movie. It is a very ambitious, impressively put together movie with some really cool special effects overall. The concept overall is very fun too. Ben Stiller working in this museum at night and everything comes to life at nighttime. It's kind of like the complete polar opposite of a movie like The Relic, which, if you don't remember that movie, that was a movie where they had this creature locked up inside the museum and he starts attacking people at nighttime. And imagine that, except much more family-friendly and not as violent as that movie. Although it's a great movie, by the way. The Relic is an underrated little gem. Definitely check that out if you want to see a really cool, underrated little horror film. But this is a really good movie, too. Ben Stiller, I think, plays the part of the straight man in here pretty well. Like, he is the straight man in this crazy world that he finds himself in. Carla Gugino, she's okay in the movie. She isn't anything too special. She's just there to kind of be the love interest to Ben Stiller's character, which is funny because they completely abandoned her in the sequels afterwards. But you got Robin Williams playing Teddy Roosevelt, which pitch-perfect casting right there. I mean, that's the one thing you take away from this movie. Robin Williams is amazing as Teddy Roosevelt in this film. You see Owen Wilson in there as one of the little soldiers. Steve Coogan is also the other soldier. And they have a lot of good fun moments in there. Like, I always love the scene where, like, everything is epic to them, but then you cut the camera back, and it's like nothing at all is happening. It's just like, they do this a couple times in these movies, and it's always a fun little gag here and there. The part that really got to me the first time I saw it, is this movie has a really good twist involving Dick Van Dyke's character as well as Mickey Rooney and Bill Cobbs. You don't really see it until the third act. They're the bad guys in the movie, and when I first saw this movie, I was just like, okay, that took me completely off guard because I was not expecting Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rooney, and Bill Cobbs to be the bad guys in this movie. I would have thought somebody like Ricky Gervais. I thought he was going to be the bad guy overall, but no, it was those three guys, and I gotta give the movie credit. It really does take you by surprise the first time you see it, and like I said before, this movie is nothing spectacular, nothing too amazing. It's a good fun movie. It's a type of movie that you take the kids to it's on a Saturday afternoon, and you have a good time with it. The kids like it, and you as an adult can find a lot to admire about it as well. It also helps that it's directed by Sean Levy, and I've talked about this director before. He's a good comfort food director. He can make movies that are not great films overall, but they're really good movies that you can just watch and just have a good time with it. He knows how to entertain his audiences. I mean, he's proven that this year with Deadpool and Wolverine. You got a script written by Robert Ben Garant and Thomas Lennon, of course, the guys behind Reno 911. They write a lot of good stuff, too. Not everything they've written is great, but this is one of those movies where they know exactly what they're doing here. Chris Columbus is the producer on here. Of course, he usually makes a lot of good movies as the producer. Not always, but sometimes. But this is the guy that did Home Alone. This is the guy that was the producer on Jingle All the Way. I mean, he's made a lot of good stuff overall. And the film itself is just a good, fun movie. If you go into it with the right mindset, if you know you're not going to see anything too spectacular overall, but in terms of story, but the comedy is very good. The writing is very good. The visuals are very impressive. The adventure is very good, and you and the kids can get a good enjoyment out of it. I mean, these movies, they're good movies. They're solidly entertaining films. They're not meaning to go above and beyond. They're just there for you to have a good time, and they do just that. And like I said before, this was perfect timing to release this at Christmas time, and people ate it up. I mean, not only was the movie a massive hit, but it actually helped the Real Life Museum of Natural History in New York City see massive masses coming in there as a result of this movie's success. And for a movie to do that, that's pretty impressive, because museums really are not that impressive to go to, but a movie like this does that, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, this movie's doing something right, obviously. So yeah, it's a really good movie. Not a great film overall, but like I said, you go into it with the right mindset, you can have a good time overall. It's a good, fun family adventure film. And I really like it a lot. I like these movies a lot. They're not great films overall. They're silly, they're ridiculous, over-the-top fun, and I think that's the reasons why you go see it. They're good, fun films. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Not at the museum. A good, fun time overall. Speaking of good, fun times, our next movie, Rocky Balboa, is back in. Sylvester Stallone stars in Rocky Balboa.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
Who was the greatest? Who was the best of all time? If two athletes from different eras could actually compete against one another, who would come out on top? In one corner, the reigning champion at Mason the Line Dixon. He'll be pitted against the former two-time heavyweight champion, Rocky Balboa. The computer says Rocky Balboa would be triumphant.
I think there's still some stuff in the basement.
What basement?
In here. I think I want to, like, fight. You know, nothing big, small stuff, like locally.
What are you trying to prove, Pop?
I thought you might want to get involved.
Don't you think you're too, old?
I think your brain's losing altitude.
You heard Rocky Balboa applied for a license. You want me to fight a guy that I can beat with both hands tied behind my back? That computer fight got a lot of people curious.
Yeah, but I ain't interested in getting, like, mangled and embarrassed.
People are going to think you're going crazy.
What's crazy about standing toe-to-toe saying, I am?
If this is something that you gotta do, then you do it. Fighters fight.
To beat this guy, you need speed. You don't have it. You've got calcium deposits on most of your joints, so sparring is out.
I had that problem.
So what we'll be calling on is blunt force trauma. Heavy-duty punches that will rattle his ancestors. Let's start building some hurting bombs.
We ain't playing. What's your hockey? The press has labeled you a Balboasaurus. How do you feel about that?
It's a fight. Head bustin'. We gon' hit him.
Larry, why is this billed as an exhibition?
So they wouldn't have to call it an execution.
It's a fight. Head bustin'. It's a fight.
It takes guts climbing back in that ring knowing you're going to take a beating. Ain't nothing over till it's over.
Where's that from?
The 80s? That's probably in the 70s.
Rocky Balboa. Can you do it?
I think this movie definitely proves that, yes, Rocky Balboa can still do it. I mean, talk about a great trailer that just pumps you up and gets you excited for the return of Rocky Balboa after all these years, after the last movie was such a major disappointment, and a disappointing conclusion to the series as a whole. And I mean, the whole movie is just a great love letter to what makes Rocky Balboa, this Rocky character, so special. The plot of the movie here, as you can tell from the trailer, you have Stallone, once again as Balboa. Now he's an aging small restaurant owner, and he's now challenged to an exhibition fight by a hothead young boxer named Mason Dixon, who's played by Antonio Tarver. So basically, just imagine the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, except this one is much more entertaining. It actually features real boxing in it, and it wasn't just seen as a freaking spectacle, which you could say this movie predicted the future, because I think this movie did literally predict the future, except, unlike Rocky Balboa, in which Stallone actually makes it fun to watch the fight, you're just watching the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight, just wondering, why am I even watching this? Like, what was the whole point of this whole thing? And just to watch Jake Paul beat up a guy that's already getting paid millions of dollars to just sit there. I mean, yeah, I'm going off topic here, but I'm sorry. That's one of the worst things I've seen this year in general. And the fact that people were suckered into it, people bought into it overall, like, it was just a mess of just a whole disaster altogether. But Rocky Balboa is anything but a disaster. It returned the Rocky franchise back to its former glory, and it did a very good job of continuing the story of Rocky ever since Rocky V. Of course, now his wife Adrian has died of cancer a couple years prior to the setting of this movie, so no Talia Shire in here. So then I replaced her with Geraldine Hughes, excuse me. But she's, this is a movie where, when I first saw the trailer, I swear I thought that was Jenna Fisher, because she looks so much like Jenna Fisher from The Office, Pam Beesly, and it's not her, but man, she does a very good job creating some nice chemistry with Rocky in here. Like, Stallone and her really do work off each other very well. Paulie is back. Burt Young is really good in here. Milo Ventimiglia playing Rocky's son in here. I thought he had a very good role in here in general. You got a lot of good people in here. Tony Burton, Burt Sugar, the boxing historian. Of course, you got to have Michael Buffer in here. I mean, there's a lot to admire about the movie. And I like that it is a legitimately good love letter to the Rocky series while also advancing the story overall. It does a very good job of showing that, Rocky really still has what it takes. And, I know a lot of people were very skeptical when this movie came out. Like, why is he doing another Rocky movie when he's in his... I think he was in his 60s when this came out, if I'm not mistaken. Was he in his 60s? He would have turned 60 that year. 1946 was when he was born. He's 78 years old now, and the dude still looks pretty good. Looks like he could still beat up somebody. But yeah, this is a nice goodbye to Rocky. Like, for a guy to go in there at 60 years old, the whole movie overall, like, I love the fact that it doesn't go the route you think it's going to go down. And I like the fact that it does keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, you're wondering, how is this fight going to end? Is Rocky really going to beat up this guy? Is the other guy going to beat him up? Or what's going to happen here? And it's a satisfying conclusion at the end. You don't get to see what you think you're going to see, but you learn a lot of things about how tough you can really be overall. And it's a really good film. It's a really impressively put together film that still holds up after all these years. And you see why Rocky overall is still so special after all these years. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen the advancement of the storyline now that it's now not about Rocky anymore. It's about Creed, Michael B. Jordan, and what he's done with those movies in general. And I think the Creed movies have all been really good. They've each gotten better and better with every passing film, with Creed 3 being a really good movie overall. Okay, maybe Creed 2 is a little lesser than the first Creed movie, but Creed 3, I think, is the best of the Creed movies so far. And I like the fact that that's continuing the storyline from Rocky. Sylvester Stallone doesn't have to keep coming back as Rocky Balboa, proving that he can still fight overall. Even though there was one other movie that came out not too long after this where it was Stallone as a boxer, which I think is actually a pretty fun movie overall. But we'll eventually get to that when we get to 2013, if you know which one I'm talking about. But bottom line, this is a really good movie. This is a really fun film. It's a really good movie that shows that Sylvester Stallone still has what it takes to tell a compelling story. This isn't a typical Rocky sequel. This is more like on the lines of Rocky 2, where it felt like he was really trying to advance the story more. It wasn't like Rocky 3 or 4 or 5, where he was just going way too over the top because anything he touched would turn to gold in the 1980s, except for Rocky 5. But yeah, this is one that definitely is a really good movie. Probably my second favorite one of the Rocky series in general, not including the Creed movies. But this is probably my second favorite Rocky film besides the first one. It's a great movie. Can't recommend it enough. Rocky Balboa. It's a must-watch. So let's move on to our next movie, which is Robert De Niro making his second directorial effort after A Bronx Tale. This is the ensemble, The Good Shepherd.
Asking you to be a good citizen. The Good Shepherd is the godfather of CIA movies. David Anson of Newsweek calls it mesmerizing and spellbinding. And Larry King raves it's the best spy movie ever made. Matt Damon is phenomenal. Angelina Jolie is remarkable. And Robert De Niro is as good a director as he is an actor.
The CIA.
Nasty little secrets.
The Good Shepherd, rated R, starts tomorrow.
So this is actually based off the events of the life of James Jesus Angleton, and it's advertised as telling the history of the birth of the counterintelligence in the CIA. And you have Matt Damon playing Edward Wilson, who's a senior CIA officer who discovers a mole in his department following the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. And the film delves into Wilson's complex life, starting from his college years at Yale University, from his initiation to the Skull and Bones fraternity, and his recruitment into intelligence work in World War II. His personal life is marked with a strained marriage to Margaret Clover Russell, played by Angelina Jolie, and after a series of affairs that underscores the sacrifices and moral compromises inherent in espionage work, the narrative unfolds through a mix of present-day events and flashbacks exploring the origins of the CIA. The cast also includes Alec Baldwin, William Hurt, Joe Pesci, and John Turturro in it, and just kind of like with The Good German from the last week's show, from the last episode we did, a lot of good ambition overall, but just a botched execution overall. I mean, the trailer makes it seem like it's kind of a prequel to The Departed, because The Departed kind of is a very similar plot to it if you're just watching that trailer there. And yeah, other than that, though, the movie itself really is not that engaging or interesting whatsoever. I mean, yeah, it's cool to see Joe Pesci back on the big screen after a long time. I don't think he was in a movie. It's been a while since I saw Joe Pesci in between Casino and this. I can't remember if he did anything else. He may have done a couple of other things, but they weren't memorable films overall. But you know, him, Alec Baldwin, William Hurt, John Turturro. It's bad enough. The Departed comparisons are bad enough when you also include that both Matt Damon and Alec Baldwin are in this movie overall, and I think it really hurts the film in the long run. I just don't think there really is an engaging story here to really compel this film overall. I mean, Robert De Niro is not a bad director. I think A Bronx Tale was a really good, underrated film that showed what he can do as a director. And yeah, there's some ambition here, and there's some really good times when he's showing that, hey, he's got what it takes overall as a director, but as a writer, as a scripter as a whole, it definitely needed another rewrite. Even though this is written by Eric Roth, who of course wrote Forrest Gump. He's written a lot of great movies. He would write Star is Born, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Eunuch, Dune. The guy is a great writer, but this just isn't a film that. This is a film that needed another rewrite. I think this is a film that, if it had another rewrite, it probably would have been a whole lot better than what it is. But as it is, it's just not worth it. I mean, the cast is trying their best to hold it together, but it's just not enough to save the film in the end. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's a skip on The Good Shepherd. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next film, probably the most underrated movie that came out this whole weekend, and that is Matthew McConaughey in We Are Marshall.
We're good. Let's go.
I love you, Chris Griffin.
Hey, that was a big hit today. Notice? I'm proud of it. We are Marshall. Also.
What's happened?
All 75 people are dead in the greatest disaster in college sports history.
This is our team.
I think you should have this back.
Chris gave it to you.
I promised some others that I'd look after their sons. There's not one of them left.
You might cancel the program. This ain't right.
I'm sorry.
Jacqueline Gale called. Says he may be interested in the open coaching job.
Why do you want this job? When I heard about what had happened, the only thing I could think about was how bad it would hurt if some solution for them. And I thought, hell, maybe I can help. This is my varsity team, huh? It's a new name. We gotta be creative about who we're going after. Ever shake football before? No, sir.
Rough it! You think you're the only one that's had it rough?
We're not honoring him, Jack. We're disgracing him.
This is not about a game. This is about what happened to this town.
There's something I think y'all need to hear.
Forget that. This is your opportunity to rise from the ashes.
Funeral's in today.
One day we're going to be like every other team, where winning is everything, and nothing else matters. And when that day comes, that's when we'll honor them. What day is it, son?
Game day.
What day?
Game day.
Time to play till the whistle blows.
You know, figures that McG does something that's completely outside of his norm, and what a shocker. Nobody wants to go see it, which I think it's a shame because I really like this movie a lot. This is a movie that depicts the aftermath of the 1970 plane crash that killed 75 people, 37 players of the Marshall University Thundering Herd football team, 5 coaches, 2 athletic trainers, the athletic director, 25 boosters, and the airport crew of 5. And Matthew McConaughey stars as the new head coach that's going to try to turn the team back around. You have Matthew Fox starring as assistant coach, his first major motion picture role following his success on Lost. David Strathairn is the U.S. president. Robert Patrick is the coach that is the Marshall coach that ends up dying. You also have Ian McShane, Anthony Mackie, Kate Mara, January Jones, just a terrific cast overall in here, and this is a really good movie, man. This is a movie that I was really impressed by how much I really enjoyed it when it first came out. I mean, it was a movie that, yeah, it's a typical underdog sports story, but they do a really good job of keeping the message really coming through here that, you know, just because of this massive tragedy doesn't mean that everything needs to shut down completely, and that you have to give people some hope in the world. And this movie does a very good job of showing that. Not only does it show what McG could do as a director, but for Matthew McConaughey, man, like, you know, this was around that time when he was just known mostly for his romantic comedies. Everyone forgets that the dude could be a good dramatic actor. I mean, he's been in stuff like A Time to Kill, Contact. Of course, he would later win an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. The guy can be a really good dramatic actor, and like this was around a time whenever anybody thinks of Matthew McConaughey, they think, oh, you mean that guy that's in those terrible romantic comedies? But yeah, he's done those. But a movie like this shows what this guy really can do as an actor as a whole. I think he does a great job of handling this performance in here. I think he's fantastic in the film. Everybody else plays their parts very well here. It's a very uplifting story. It's a film that I really don't think gets enough attention because of the fact that most people saw it as just like, okay, it's another one of these underdog sports movies here. But then again, if Disney probably put this out, this probably would have been a bigger hit overall because they were really cooking with those underdog sports films at the time. But because it was Warner Brothers and the fact that it was being pushed into this release date with all these big holiday releases, yeah, nobody went to go see it, unfortunately. But it's a shame because they really should, because it's a really good film. It's a film that I think deserves a lot more attention. It shows what McG can do as a director as a whole, doing something that's outside of his norm completely. It's a great movie. I really like it a lot. It's definitely one that I recommend people check out. It's a really good film. We Are Marshall, absolutely a well-made film. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is Clint Eastwood's second film about World War II, released in 2006. The much better film, in my opinion, and that is Letters from Iwo Jima.
I lived in California, far away.
Oklahoma is where I'm from.
ここである軍人として死決すべきだ。ここでこのまま死ぬのと生きて戦い続けることと。
戦局最後の葛藤に直面する。
残ってるのはライフルだけです。
今や弾丸付き自ら常しえにお別れ申し上げ。
諸君らの霊に涙し黙祷を捧げる日が必ずや来るであろう。
世は常に諸子の先頭にある。
So yeah, Letters from Iwo Jima is essentially showing the Battle of Iwo Jima from the perspective of the Japanese soldiers, and it's a companion piece, of course, to Flags of Our Fathers, which depicted the same battle from the American viewpoint. And where Letters from Iwo Jima really succeeded better than Flags of Our Fathers to me is that it tells a much more interesting story and has more of the interesting characters involved and the most interesting conflicts involved. It shows the good and evil on both sides of the field, and it's a really impressively put-together movie. I mean, this is a film that does show the good and bad sides of the war and both sides of the battle here, and I think that's a film that that's something that needs to be taken into consideration with a movie like this, and I think it does a very good job of playing it. The differences between Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima, mostly to me, is not just those things, but also Flags of Our Fathers seemed a little bit more mainstream than something like Letters from Iwo Jima, which seems much more independent. And you can't believe that this is Clint Eastwood directing it too, because this is done in Japanese. This is done in Japanese, although it was produced by a lot of American companies, obviously, because the first movie was like that. And you know, this is a film that does show both the, like I said, both of the good sides, the good and bad sides of the war and the sides of the battle here, because there are a lot of things that are very complicated during this situation here, and you have a lot of great, strong performances overall, including, of course, Ken Watanabe, who will never usually put in a bad performance overall. I mean, the guy has a lot of acting range as a whole, and it really did feel like Clint Eastwood was putting more effort into this movie. He puts more heart and soul into this film in telling a more concrete story with the more interesting scenarios and situations. Because Flag of Our Fathers definitely felt like a more mainstream film overall and didn't feel like a film that was really digging deep too much into what they were trying to accomplish. And it really hurt itself in the long run in terms of what they were trying to do with that film. But this is the film that really shows why these two films came together. And I don't know if you could make this movie work with both movies if they were just one long film. I think it's really a better idea to have these two movies separated, because you see where the real effort goes into with the story, with what Clint Eastwood was trying to do with both of these films. Not to say The Flags of Our Fathers is bad overall, and it is a necessary film to follow along with Letters from Iwo Jima. But if I'm being asked which one is the better film overall, this is definitely the film I would recommend the most. You can definitely feel where the power of the storyline came into play with this movie more than it did with Flags of Our Fathers. And like I said, if you're going to watch one of these two movies, this is the one to do it with. But I would say don't completely not see Flags of Our Fathers first. Just be prepared for the much better movie to come with Letters from Iwo Jima. This one I think is the much better film overall. Flags of Our Fathers is just a good movie. This is a great movie. One of the year's best films. It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and we have finally made it, ladies and gentlemen, the final weekend of 2006. December 29th, 2006 to be exact, right in between Christmas coming to an end and the New Year just around the corner. So we have 6 movies here. Some notable ones, some not so notable ones, but there are a couple of really good movies that we got this weekend to look at. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Black Christmas. And I know what you're thinking. A remake of a 1974 movie directed by the same guy that would later give us Porky's and A Christmas Story, a horror classic for many cult people, a horror cult classic, I should say. No studio would be that stupid and that means it mindless to put this movie on Christmas Day and think it was going to make any kind of a profit whatsoever.
Some people have expressed outrage.
Is that Santa's reindeer?
Over a Christmas movie that is this violent, this disturbing, and this raw. Our answer is, you haven't seen anything yet. Black Christmas. Rated R. Everywhere Christmas Day.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein, you smug son of a bitch. You really thought that people were going to be suckered into this movie, and, not surprisingly, the film did not do very well. And, really, it's not that hard to see why, but I'll give it this. It's certainly a lot better than that god-awful Blumhouse 2019 Me Too remake they did. I mean, that one is just... Oh, that one is just a bad on so many levels. But this... Well, let's look at the plot of it. You have a film that takes place several days before Christmas and tells the story of a group of sorority sisters who are stalked and murdered in their house during a winter storm. And this is produced by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. Of course, they worked on the X-Files. They did the Final Destination movies. So there is good talent involved in here. I mean, there's a good cast involved in here, too. Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert, Andrea Martin's in here as well. So there is good talent in the film. And it's not a bad idea to remake this movie, but yeah, you're remaking a Christmas horror movie that was controversial back in the day, and even had controversy on this day, is when this came out. But even then, like, was there really a need for a controversy for this? Because anybody could look at this movie and realize there's no way this is making any money, especially if it's opening on Christmas Day, which, I mean, this feels like a move where they just dumped it out there because they knew this was not going to make any money, per se. Like, if this was a direct-to-video movie or a streaming film, I think this would have found much more success, and, you know, hey, people could just turn it off if they don't really like it all that much, and don't have to go out there being like, oh, this movie is so offensive, and, like, even though we're not paying attention to the fact that it's literally marketed as a horror film. Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, but with all that said, though, the film isn't great at all. I mean, it's a lousy movie. It really falls into the same predictable scenario we've seen with many other slasher films of the day. Like, it's not doing anything newer that the original film didn't do that was done much better. Yeah, it's in a modern setting. You've got these younger ladies in here who are clearly more than over college age, per se. But, hey, they're in here, they're good looking, and yeah, this is the type of film that really should not have been put out around Christmas Day, or even put out in theaters the way it was. Like, there's really nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. None of the kills are really that interesting. You don't really give a shit about any of these characters whatsoever. Yeah, the violence, yeah, it's just there to be violence for the sake of violence, because we're in the age of Saw and Hostel. That's the new norm for slasher films, and yeah, people were not stupid enough to go see this movie and make it a success. It came and went, crashed and burned at the box office, and was largely forgotten for many, many years afterwards. But yeah, like I said, it's at least better than the remake that came after it, which really isn't saying a whole lot, but I gotta give it that. But, yeah, other than that, though, there's not much more you can really say about this movie that hasn't already been said already. It's not a great movie by any means necessary. It's a forgettable film, so yeah, just avoid it like the plague. But with all that said, let's get to some good stuff finally. Let's get to some movies that are more notable, much better than movies like Black Christmas. Starting with the first one we have here, Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth.
According to legend, there is a lost princess whose journey home begins with 3 tasks, each one more deadly than the last. Critics are calling Pan's Labyrinth a masterpiece that fries your nerves and fires your imagination. Pan's Labyrinth, rated R, starts Friday, December 29th.
Maybe the movie that made everyone realize, hey, Guillermo del Toro is probably one of our great directors. This is a story that takes place in Spain in the summer of 1944, and it's a narrative that intertwines the real world with a mythical world, centering on an overgrown, abandoned labyrinth and a mysterious faun with whom the protagonist, Ophelia, interacts with. Ophelia's stepfather hunts down the Spanish Marquis, who resists the Francois regime. While Ophelia's pregnant mother grows increasingly ill, Ophelia meets several strange and magical creatures who become central to the storyline, leading her through the trials of the old labyrinth garden. And this is pretty much what Guillermo del Toro does so well. This movie is incredible to look at from a visual perspective, from a storytelling perspective, from a character perspective. This really is one of his strongest achievements as a filmmaker, if not his best film overall. And he's made a lot of good movies before this and since then, but a film like this works so well because it uses practical and CG effects to really good perfection. Like, you really can't tell which is which in this case here. And I think it really is a film that is very much a film that is a must-see film. This is the movie that Aragon was trying to be, that big fantasy film epic, but like Lord of the Rings. But unlike Lord of the Rings or even Harry Potter, this is a film that is much smaller. It obviously has a much smaller budget to it, but the ambition of what Guillermo del Toro brings to the table in here, and the fact that he's using all these practical effects mixed in with the CG, really works to the film's advantage. It is an incredibly put-together film. It's a movie that you can look at every once in a while and just still be amazed at how great this movie is, and it still is a really incredible film that has held up so much over time. It's a masterpiece of a film. It is definitely Guillermo del Toro's strongest film, if not his greatest film overall, but that's really hard to say because the guy has made so many great movies overall. It's amazing he didn't get any Oscars for this. He was nominated for I think this was nominated for Best Picture and Best Director, but unfortunately he didn't win those. But the film did win 3 Academy Awards for the visual work, so yeah, it definitely shows on the screen why it won that, because it's just such a great film, an incredible film overall. I can't recommend it enough. Pan's Labyrinth, a must-see film. I should also note that one of the producers on this is Alfonso Cuarón, which coincidentally ties into the next movie because he directed the next movie that we have here, Clive Owen, Michael Caine, and Julianne Moore, in the sci-fi thriller Children of Men.
From director Alfonso Cuarón.
Why are women infertile? Why do you think we can't make babies anymore?
What if your generation was the last one on Earth?
Needs your help. Not for me. Girl.
What if the most precious resource in the world
Show him.
was your only hope?
She's pregnant. They want your baby. We have to leave.
Get down! We're almost there, kid. We're almost there.
Children of Men, rated R, now in select theaters.
So yeah, the marketing campaign for this was not the very best, but hey, it still made a pretty damn good movie overall. This is actually a dystopian action thriller. I guess they say it's an action thriller. I would think of it as a sci-fi film, but it's a dystopian action thriller set in the year 2027, so we've got 3 more years before this becomes our reality, which, hey, anything's possible. This could probably still happen, but 2 decades of human infertility have left society on the brink of collapse. Asylum seekers seek sanctuary in the United Kingdom, where they are subjected to detention and deportation by the government. Actually, this might predict the future, all things considered, but Clive Owen plays a civil servant who tries to help a refugee escape the chaos who is actually pregnant. You also have Julianne Moore, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Charlie Hunnam, and Michael Caine among the cast in the film. And just kind of like a Pan's Labyrinth, an incredible film on so many levels. Like, the cinematography is absolutely amazing in this movie. There are scenes that are shot as one take alone. Like, everyone remembers, it's like the one big scene everyone remembers is that when they're driving in the car and you see all these people coming around to attack the car with with all of them inside them, including the pregnant girl. And the camera's just moving around in a slow motion as this is happening. It's just like, it's a really impressive shot that really builds up the tension and shows the intensity of the situation in general. And it's just such a beautiful shot put together here. And it really shows Alfonso Cuarón's ability to direct, to show that Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban was not a fluke. This guy is seriously a really good director that can direct a lot of really cool action sequences. The story overall is very good. The casting overall is really great. And the cast in here is absolutely pitch perfect. I mean, this is an incredible film, an amazing film that still holds up, and it's gotten even better as time has gone on. And like I said, may predict the future overall, depending on what happens in the next couple of years. Never say never, I say, but yeah, this is a really good film. I don't think I have to say too much more about it because everybody knows how good of a movie this is. And if you haven't seen Children of Men yet, what are you doing, man? You're doing yourself a huge disservice by not watching it. Go and see this movie, Children of Men. It's a must-see film. So now with all that said, let's go ahead and move back to some lesser films. Let's go ahead and move on to the first one here. Cate Blanchett and Judi Dench starring in Notes on a Scandal.
The critics agree.
We're both in terrible trouble.
Everything about Notes on a Scandal is electrifying, thrilling, wicked, spellbinding, a triumph.
Anything you tell me will be in strictest confidence.
You'll hang on every twist and turn. This year's Golden Globe nominees, Judi Dench and Cate Blanchett, are the most impressive acting duo in any film of the year.
Why did you do it? You owe me.
Notes on a Scandal, rated R. Now playing in select theaters.
So the story's pretty much what you think it is. You have Cate Blanchett, who's a veteran, Judi Dench is a veteran teacher who uncovers another teacher's illicit affair with an underage student, the other teacher being Cate Blanchett in this case. Bill Nighy is also in the film as well. And yeah, we've seen movies like this that have been so similar to other movies of this type, we've seen this largely TV movies of the week where, it's always a story about, the hot teacher, or who falls in love with the student, and it's just like, you have to kill my husband so we can be together, when it's actually just a ploy for the teacher to have her husband be killed, and she gets off scot-free. And this movie definitely feels like that at times, but in some ways, but in other times, it really does not feel like a film that we've seen done before, and it works mostly because of the cast involved in here. Judi Dench, Cate Blanchett, two of our greatest living actresses. They are really putting their all into this. It's a really intense film overall. It's a good job of doing something that's very different from outside the norm of what you expect from a story like this. It does keep you on the edge of your seat of how this is going to pan out in the end. And it really is well put together overall. It's a great film that works on so many levels. A really good cast holds it together. It's a story that we've seen done before, but not in the way that this movie does it. I think it works very well to the film's advantage, how this plays out overall. So yeah, I give it a lot of credit for doing that. It's a really good film, a really good, underrated little gem of a film. Check out Notes on a Scandal. With all that said, let's move on to the next film we have here. I almost said last, but we're not done yet. Our next movie here, and that is Perfume, the story of a murder.
Complete without you. Perfume of such power that every person on earth believed they were in paradise.
Yeah, maybe Renlo the One was probably a lightning in a bottle moment for this director because, he has not made that many good movies since then. But this is a film set in 18th century France where you follow the story of Jean-Baptiste Gounod, played by Ben Whishaw, who's an olfactory genius and his homicidal quest for the perfect scent. You have a cast also includes Alan Rickman and Dustin Hoffman in here. This is a movie that largely came and went, and kind of hard. It's not that hard to see why. The movie really is way too weird for its own good. I mean, this is a film that's just so completely out of nuts, out of the blue, insane at times. Of how the story moves along in here. There's a random orgy that happens with all these people from this town that I guess is there to serve a purpose to it, but at the same time, it just comes off as one of the weirdest, most disturbing things ever, and not in a good way either. It's just kind of like, there's really no point to having this in the movie per se. It's just there to be kind of like, it feels like it's being there to sell the film on something when the movie really has no purpose to it whatsoever. The story really isn't that engaging. Some of the performances are not that great either. Dustin Hoffman's kind of forced into this. Alan Rickman's not that strong in here. Ben Whishaw, usually he's a very good actor, and he is the one thing I would say carries the film over to being somewhat passable overall, but the motivations for this movie really do not work at all into what the film's trying to accomplish here, and it just gets boring every once in a while. Like, it really struggles to find a way to keep the audience entertained throughout the course of its runtime. And it's not a long film at all. It's only... Actually, it is a long film. What am I thinking? It's over 2.5 hours long, and not much really happens to give the film that edge that's something that should be something that people want to see. And I just don't see it in here, man. Maybe other people do, and I'm just not seeing it, but I was really bored by this movie. It was a really lackluster film. A waste of a lot of really good talent, and just shows that this director, who really impressed everybody almost 10 years ago with Run Lola Run, seemed like a one-trick pony, because everything he's done since then has not been that good. Like Cloud Atlas, The International, and yeah, this one, definitely not one of his better films. So yeah, that's a pass on Perfume, The Story of a Murderer. So let's see if we can end the show on a high note this week. Here's Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor starring in Miss Potter.
So you are an author. We have created a book. But the most enchanting tale of all. I know publishing your book will not sell a great number of copies, but I think we can turn a small profit. You should have no financial worries for the rest of your life. Is the extraordinary life.
I didn't want to be a silly woman marrying a man simply because he was acceptable or rich enough to take care of me.
Of Miss Potter.
Yeah, over 100 years before anybody even knew who Harry Potter was, Beatrix Potter was the original Potter that everyone in English children's books places would find. I have no idea what I was trying to say with that, but the bottom line here is that this is Miss Potter. Let's just go with that, because I completely lost what I was trying to go with that opening there. But Miss Potter, this is based off the life of children's author and illustrator Beatrix Potter, who of course came up with such characters as Peter Rabbit, and combined stories from her own life with animated sequences featuring those characters from her story. And it's definitely a film that doesn't get the proper attention it deserves. It's a really, really good film, directed by Chris Noonan, who gave us Babe. This is actually his first film he'd done since Babe, produced by David Kirshner, who produced a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff, was also one of the main guys behind Child's Play, and of course the cast includes Renee Zellweger playing a really good Beatrix Potter in here. Ewan McGregor's really good in the movie, playing her fiancé in here. You also have Emily Watson in here. The visuals are very impressive. Their blending of animation and live action is very well done. It almost feels like they're trying to mirror Mary Poppins a little bit here with some of the animation and live action sequences they have in here, and it works very well to the film's advantage. And it doesn't feel like a movie that feels like it needs to play it safe overall. Well, granted, it does kind of play it safe to its own degree. It's never to a point where it really hurts the film in the long run. It's a film that is very much what you see is what you get. The story of Beatrix Potter and the story of how she created this world of these characters that have become so beloved over time. And it's a really good film. It's a really good, fun little story that has you could tell it's a lot of influence. Got a lot of its. Let me start that again. You can tell there's a lot of influence from Mary Poppins in here, and it works very well to the film's advantage. It's great seeing this director who did Babe before coming back into his own, and it's really good to see a really solid performance by Renee Zellweger and Ewan McGregor to carry the film over. It's a really good underrated little gem. If you like Babe, if you like Nanny McPhee, if you like Mary Poppins, you can definitely find a lot to admire about this movie in general. I think it's a very underrated film. Definitely one that deserves to be seen. Miss Potter, definitely check it out.